is a little much. I think that's working all right. How are you doing? This is my daughter Mia. I told you I'm doing a little daytime edition of Fireside Chats today, so the natives are restless, and so she's not interested in being put down. And so she's going to be with us doing a little class today, all right? I figured today I got to leave. It's not quite ready for the fire, so I figured I would light our Advent wreath, right? So I got my lighter. First week of Advent, right? We normally have a song that we sing in here, but I'll spare you all the misery of singing the song. Hopefully Mia doesn't try to go after that. So, great. So we're gonna start here today, folks, with section 39. Right, section 39. Go ahead and open that up. Right, we're looking at the story of the Great Commandment, right? And the Great Commandment starts right in verse 4 of chapter 6, right? So I would like you to highlight this, right? And we're looking at section 39 now, folks, on page, right? And second verse 4, she's grabbing at it, right? Where it says, "Hear, O Israel, your Lord is Lord alone." It's all on. She knocked it out of the way. She went all the way back. She did it good. You want to get down? She's going to go after the candle now. We're going to have to blow it out. We're going to have to blow it out because she's going after it. Watch, I'm telling you. She's going after it. Let's see, where did this thing go? These people. All right, we'll blow it out. Sorry, Mia. All right, you got to move that out of the way. It's life with kids, folks. What can I say? She's got the nil wafer. She's all happy. All right, Desert of Sin, section 39. Let's see, she's going to make a mess with these things, I guarantee that. All right, so here we go. Like I was saying, verse 4 from the Great Commandment section, verse 39, right? It says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. Therefore you shall love the Lord your God with your whole heart, with your whole being, with your whole strength." Right? That's right there. That's the greatest commandments, right? And if you just highlight that, just kind of put that down, right? And notice, what is that really? That is a summary of the first 3 commandments, right? That we are to love God above all else, right? And when we get to the New Testament, Jesus is going to expand upon this commandment by adding the second part, right? And to love your neighbor as yourself, all right? Now, what we're seeing here, right, if you notice, we're in a new book of the Bible, right? In section 39, we've entered into the book of Deuteronomy. The book of Deuteronomy literally means second law. Right, and so what Deuteronomy is like Moses' long-winded dying speech. The 40 years of wandering are over. The people are on the brink of the promised land. They're about to go in. And Moses says to the people, hey, before you go in, remember, and then he restates everything he had taught them in Numbers and Leviticus. All right? What we see here in verse 15 is this choice that Moses is going to outline for the people. And the choice is really simple. He says to the people, if, as you're about to go into the promised land, if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I am giving you today, loving the Lord your God and walking in his ways and keeping his commandments, statutes, and ordinances, you will live and grow numerous, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land you are entering to possess. Right? So what we see here is Moses setting up this equation, right? Where the first half of it is obey and be blessed, right? So if you just highlight verse 16, right, and just write obey equals blessed, right? God will take care of you, all right? Verse 17, though, is the other side of the equation, right? Oh, you got a little wafer? You want me to give you one? Yeah. There you go. Right? One for each hand? One for each hand. All right, go ahead. See you later. Right? Verse 17 is the other side of the equation, right? If, however, your heart turns away and you do not obey, but are led astray and bow down to other gods and serve them, I tell you today that you will certainly perish. Right? And so there's the equation that Moses lays out. He's like, hey, you're about to go into the promised land. You have 2 options. If you obey, then you will be blessed in the land and you will have a long life. If you disobey, you will perish. Right? And we will see how that kind of flows, ebbs and flows with the people. As they obey God's commands, they flourish. When they disobey, they'll be conquered. All right? All right, so turn the page to the commentary. Just highlight that the greatest commandment of all is to love the Lord with your whole heart, mind, soul, and to keep yours as your only God. And then finally, the following of the Lord results in a life of true happiness, right? Because you are not enslaved to anything. All right? We are to choose life. That's the idea. Okay? All right. Section 40. Go ahead and take a look at section 40 here, folks. All right? In section 40, we learn about the death of Moses and Aaron. Right? So the first thing that we see here is in verse 50. If you highlight that, it says that Aaron died on Mount Hor. All right, on Mount Hor. So just highlight that. Aaron is already dead at this point. Mia's going to grab the computer, so let me move this out of the way because she's on the couch now. All right, and she's coming after the computer. All right, yeah, you'll see her head probably pop up in a second. Right, so we learned, highlight there in verse 50, Aaron died on Mount Hor. Right, and so Moses is going to climb here, right, to the top of Mount Nebo. Right, and so just highlight that word Mount Nebo there in verse 48 and just write down the note where Moses dies. All right, once again, all these notes and highlights are in Schoology for you to follow along as well. Right, and so God reminds Moses once again that you may climb to the top and you may see the land from a distance, but you shall not enter because you broke faith with the Israelites at Kadesh, where instead of commanding the rock, you struck the rock twice. All right? Right? And so it says in verse 50, there in the land of Moab, right, on Mount Nebo, we're looking at verse 5 here, Moses, the servant of the Lord, died as the Lord had said. All right? And so what we see here is, if you just highlight that, notice the end of the book of Deuteronomy is the end of the Torah, those first 5 books. The very last thing that the Torah has in it is the death of Moses here on Mount Nebo, right, with the people on the brink of going into the promised land. All right, and so just highlight verse 5 and just write down that the Torah ends with the death of Moses and the Israelites on the brink of entering the promised land. Right, Moses was 120 years old when he died. Remember, we talked about the importance of age really representing wisdom. Okay? And verse 9, this is very important. Now Joshua, son of Nun, remember we've talked about Joshua, he was one of the spies. He is going to take over for Moses as the new leader of the people. All right, so in the commentary, you could just write that it will be Joshua, not Moses or Aaron, who will lead the next generation of Israelites into the promised land. This is Abby, the dog. She's coming around. She's the vacuum. She's picking up all the Nilla wafers that are all over the floor for Mia. So that's where she comes in. All right? All right. So some people feel bad for Moses that he doesn't get to go into the promised land. I don't feel bad for him because as it says over here, that we see Moses again in the New Testament. Right? We see him show up at the transfiguration with Elijah and Jesus. So he gets heaven. So I'm good with that. What happened? You want more? Let me get some more Nilla wafers. Ooh. Here you go. One. You already have one in that hand. Oh, now you want 3. There you go. She's got 3. She's happy. She's good. All right, turn the page here, folks. We're in the period of Judges chapter, right? I'll have to show you that video in class, the little pump-up video. I'll have to show that to you in class. When we get there. Here, you know what? She'll be happy with my phone. There you go. There you go. Play with my phone. There you go. Okay? All right. All right, so turn here, folks, to section 41. Right? Section 41. Joshua is now in charge, right? He's in charge of the people, right? And Joshua is going to basically enter into this conversation with God. And he says to God, right, like, hey, if you promise to be with me like you were with Moses, right, then I'll obey you like Moses did, right? And so in verse 5, highlight this, and notice where it says, no one can withstand you as long as you live. God promises, as I was with Moses, I will be with you. I will not leave you nor forsake you. All right? And so the book of Joshua, she's right on the end here, and fall off. Right? The book of Joshua, guys, is broken up into 2 parts. Right? The first part is the conquering of the promised land, and then the second part is the dividing up of the land once the people have entered into the promised land. All right? All right, so here we go. Verse 12. Before Joshua brings the people into the promised land, he sets the same thing that Moses set before the people in the previous section. Right? He says to the people, basically, we're about to go into the promised land. And if we do this, we have to do it full on. We can't go halfway. Right? And so he says to the people, right, kind of like, help us to go in and to conquer. Right? And as long as you obey me, right, then this will all go well. Right? And notice, right, it says in verse 16, the people answered Joshua, we will do all you have commanded us, and we will go wherever you send us. Right? Now remember, what people is? This is the generation of people that wandered because of the faithlessness of their parents, right? So these are the people that wandered for 40 years because of stuff their parents did. And so when Joshua says, how high, right, jump, they say, how high, right? And so one of the things that we're going to learn is that the 40 years of wandering by the people has taught the people what it means to rely on God, right? When Joshua says do this, the people are going to do it no problem, right? They are all in, okay? And so you notice what it says in verse 18. This is crazy. What is the self-inflicted punishment on anybody that doesn't listen to Joshua? Right? It says in verse 18, anyone who rebels against you or does not obey all your commands shall be put to death. Right? Wow. Right? Notice these people are like, hey, we ain't going back to the desert. We're not back to wandering. All right? And so what does Joshua do? Right? When they're about to go into the promised land, here in chapter 2, Joshua is going to send some spies, right? He's going to take a play out of Moses' playbook, and he's going to send some spies. And the first place he's going to send some spies is into the city of Jericho, where they're going to encounter this woman named Rahab. All right? And so I think that's good enough for today, right? We'll leave the video there, right? And tomorrow in class, we will pick up on Rahab and the people of Jericho, and then they actually get the people into the promised land, all right? So what I would like you to do is use the rest of the class time today to work on your projects, right, that are due on Wednesday, all right? If you guys need anything, you can shoot me an email. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day at class. And as always, thank you. I know you have your choice in scripture classes. Thank you as always for choosing mine. Thanks, guys. Have a good day. Moran out.